Welcome to the Governor's Work Ethic Certificate webinar. My name is Bart Doan. I'm Assistant Director of Youth Initiatives with the Indiana Department of Workforce Development. A special thank you to one of my colleagues, Sarah Ferguson, who you should see on the screen. She is going to monitor the chat, and she is going to be admitting folks as they come in so we can get started and get going. So the format of this is I'm going to walk through a PowerPoint, show you a GWEC video that can help with connecting with your parents and students. We'll go through the website and some of the places you can find some of the resources on it. We'll talk about some of the reporting procedures in the Google Doc, and then there will be some kind of discussion on some incentives, and then some discussion on some questions that we as an agency have as well. So the format for this will be that if you put questions in the chat, Sarah will see them, and then she will kind of collect those, and we will get to those at the end just to keep things moving along. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
I see some thumbs up, so that works. Awesome. All
yes,
right.
I can see.
All right, so welcome to the GWEC webinar. We hope we get all your questions answered. This is a webinar for folks that either are administering it or just have any interest in potentially learning more about it. As you know, the Governor's Work Ethic Certificate is administered by the Indiana Department of Workforce Development. So I'm not going to read verbatim on the screen or anything like that, but when people ask what the GWEC is, I kind of go down to that bold comment in the bottom that says, if a student has demonstrated they're ready for the world of work and you hire them, you can expect them to be successful. This is a partnership that was born in 2015, 2016 as an initiative with DOE and DWD and local employers who are interested in finding some sort of way to confirm that the students that they are bringing on and hiring are going to be successful for both themselves and their employer. All right, so how does the student attain the GWEC? There are 5 employability skills competencies and 4 academic skills competencies that we will go through in a little bit in regards to how they attain the GWEC. And it's awarded in the spring semester of the school year, usually close to the end of the school year. So like I said, I'll show you kind of on the website where they are, but the employability skills competencies are, I guess, a little less or a little more difficult to track numerically. You know, persevering through challenges and problem solving, demonstrating service learning to others, being a self-starter, being reliable and showing responsibility and teamwork ability, and then being organized on time and being able to kind of self-manage oneself. The academic competencies are around, so you have to have at least a GPA of at least 2.0 and on track to meet all of the graduation requirements. Here's the big one that always gets a lot of discussion, and I'm sure there are some questions on it. An attendance rate of 98% or higher. Why is that so high? That was determined from an employer perspective about the rate that a strong worker would have when you're in the world of work. So if we all think of the jobs that we have and we look at the percentage of time that we are at work or maybe working from home or something of that nature, we generally spend around 98% of our attendance days at work. So there are a lot of different questions you could have on that. Is that excused absences? Is that unexcused absences? Usually for many schools, the 98% it involves unexcused absences. Certainly if there are things that are written into an IEP, the IEP always is followed before anything. So I'm glad to answer stuff on that once we get to the end. Then 1 or fewer discipline referrals through the school year, and then students completing a minimum of 6 hours of community service or volunteerism. All right, so I want to take you a little bit through the GWEC by the numbers. You can see that first year in 2016, 2017, in terms of the amount of participants. So, the one thing that folks always say when they look at the GWEC, at least they say to me, is, "Oh my goodness, the rate of obtaining the GWEC is really low. That's an F. That's below an F." But really, this is a certificate that's supposed to be difficult to earn. So when you see the 37% and the 40% and things of that nature, it shows that it demonstrates that this is a certificate that has some rigor to it. And students are not just going to get it easily. They're going to have to put in some sort of work on that. I will send the full report one pager out with a follow-up email that has the webinar recording and some other things as well. But I just wanted to take you through the 2024 student report. So the one thing about the GWEC is we are a little bit at the mercy of the schools as an agency reporting. So when you see last year, 4,000 students reported, and you see under 2,000 this year, we only can use the data that we have. We know there are more students that are obtaining the GWEC. We know there are more students attempting it, but we're kind of at the mercy of the data that's reported. So there you can see a little bit regarding applicants by gender, special education applicants, and then completions. And then we also track plans after school of students who get the governor's work ethic certificate, whether they've received it or not. As you can see, it tilts very heavily on students going into either a 2-year or 4-year degree. That's kind of over 50% of those reported by far are looking at that 4-year degree, actually. So it's kind of an interesting data point. And then we look at students, the race of students not received that's reported, and then applicants with free or reduced lunch. So as you can see, the free and reduced lunch population a little bit lower overall than the overall percentage in terms of attainment. So we're going to walk through all this here on the website and look at some of the data. But in terms of beginning a program, the first thing you'll want to do is find the staff that are going to oversee and implement the GWEC. If you're not implementing the GWEC and you're interested in it, and say, well, what does this cost? There really is no cost to the GWEC program other than the staff costs and the printing costs and anything else that you sort of use to supplement the program. When you fill out the GWEC application, you will find that you need to have a GWEC advisory council. So these are non-employers, think principals, counselors, other folks in your school system that might have a passion for making sure this program's successful. And then you will have five employer partners that say, we're going to support this program. And we'll talk in a minute about what supporting the program means. But these are employers that are saying, we see value in this certificate, and we are going to do XYZ or offer XYZ to students who attempt the GWEC or students that attain the GWEC. And that can be a lot of different things. We'll go through a couple of them, but just even, we'll participate in a career fair there for GWEC students, or we will offer interviews to students who get the GWEC or something of that nature. We'll do an employer tour for GWEC students. After that, you'll kind of determine target students. I mean, really, oops. Now, got ahead of myself. You'll determine target students. Really, just about any student can be eligible for it. There's no real downside to making a student eligible for it and then having them not attain it. There aren't metrics that schools are held to. There's not anybody that's going to send an email saying, well, why are only 15% of your kiddos getting it? Some schools just put their whole senior populations in and say, whoever gets it, and we can offer that, and it's sort of a benefit to them. There's no real downside, though, to having a student participate in the program whatsoever. After that, you'll fill out an application. They can be found on the website that we'll show here in a little bit. And then the DWD has a 10 business day period to review any GWEC applications. So I am going to exit out of here and stop sharing this screen. And then I'm going to take everybody through the website here. Sorry, I've practiced this, and this is the easiest way to do it. Microsoft Teams isn't always nice to me. Hopefully you can see the website now. This is, if you just go to in.gov/DWD/GWEC, you'll see the new governor's work ethic certificate website. Has some crosstabs up here that we'll go through. The overall program goals are listed, connecting employers through the school district to have a collaborative partnership in the community, helping students understand employability skills, and then providing employers with potential young workers. Here are some of the statistics. In the 23-24 program, we had 132 schools that reported participation. We have over 800 employers that support the GWEC. Every year we have about 30,000 high school seniors that are eligible for it. And then recipients since 2016-17 are 12,020. And there's a summary here you can download, kind of a one-pager to distribute to anyone who would like it in that format. So I'll take you through here with a little bit of the websites. There is a map of participating schools and employers. The only thing we ask on you, so you can filter it by training provider, by school that's offering the GWEC, or by employer that's partnering with the GWEC. You can also look at them by incentives that are offered. So these are all potential incentives that a business or an employer might offer to a student that is taking the GWEC. So there's a lot in here. It gives employers a pretty good idea of how creative they can be, or they can kind of create their own. You can also filter by industry, and then obviously location, region, school, and so on. In terms of student information, this is kind of what we went over through a little bit earlier, the employability competencies up here, the academic competencies. The big thing is a student must meet 9 of 9 in order to obtain it. So, if they do everything right, but just the discipline isn't there, they do everything right, but they don't want to do the service learning that's documented, then unfortunately, they would not earn the GWEC. So that's where a lot of those percentages come in. You might have 8 of 9 or 7 of 9, and it's still, if one's off, then the student wouldn't earn the GWEC. Probably of most interest to you at schools there's a link to the application form if you are a school that's thinking about doing the GWEC. I'll click on here and we can take a look at it. And this just kind of goes through all this. If you're a school corporation, all the schools you're looking to have the GWEC in. So if you're a school corporation that has a couple high schools in it, you only have to apply once as a corporation. You don't need for each school. And you can list the schools that are going to do the program there. Give us a contact name and email. If those change, we really appreciate you reaching out and letting us know on an annual basis. Here is targeted students. We like to see all of these clicked that you can click. We want the GWEC to be an inclusive certificate where every student feels like they have the opportunity to attain it, or at least be part of it. So we understand that you might not have Jobs for America's graduate students. I'll talk a little bit about that briefly later. But if you do have JAG students, really all of them probably should be signed up for it. If you don't, then obviously you wouldn't click that box. And then we ask that you list those partnering employers when you apply, the advisory council members, those folks, everybody that's kind of responsible for the GWEC. And then you go over the specific requirements, so that just confirming that the school knows what those requirements are. If there's a deviation from any of these that a school wants, we just kind of ask what's sort of the alternative competency that you're using to demonstrate that these students are meeting these criteria, a timeline for implementation, and then any help that you need from us as an agency. And then we have, like I said, 10 days to kind of get you an answer on this. We might come back and ask a couple more questions. It's nothing that's too onerous. Um, there is an implementation guide, so that we have. This is not you have to run it this way, but it does give you a good idea of if you want it to be successful, how to kind of begin the program and get it working. It gives a history of the GWEC, and talks a little bit about, it's a long document. I'm not going to take you all the way through it, but then talks about sort of a timeline of activities that you can use. It goes into a little bit of how to get parents involved, how to market the GWEC, especially at the very beginning of the process, so on and so forth. So if you have any questions about that, please just let me know. And then we obviously have a little bit of a newsroom that has some things on the GWEC as well. Um, the next thing I want to take everybody through is there's a short GWEC video, and we'll go ahead and play that. Hopefully the audio will work. I have tested it, but I have not been able to test it really with someone else listening. So if you're not hearing it, let me know. A huge thank you to our partners at the Bartholomew County School Corporation for really being the drivers of helping to make this come alive. So I'll let you listen to this. And this video is designed to market to parents, to market to students, and to employers. So this probably does a little bit better job explaining the benefits of it than me.
No sound, Bart.
Well, that's no good. No sound, huh? Um, well, I guess what
Can
I'll
you
have to
turn
do.
on the closed captioning at least if you want to keep it
Yeah, I'll
rolling?
do
That might
that.
help.
There you go. That's a good idea. Thank you. Great idea. Alrighty, so I will send that out I'll send out the link as well, so everybody is able to see and hear it a little bit better. Sorry about the audio there. The next thing I want to do is take us through the governor's work hazard certificate reporting requirements. We house everything in a Google Drive, and that makes it easiest for folks to have access to it. And once you email the generic GWEC inbox, I will see it and say and put you on the list and put you on as an editor. So we do ask that you report certain elements to us as you have the data. There are two kind of main reporting elements to the GWEC. The first is an applicants versus recipients sheet that I'll take you through. And this is just raw numbers. So if your school's not here or you're a new program, we put you on here. And you just simply will put in the number of students, the raw number who attempted the GWEC, and then the raw number who received it. It'll give a percentage down at the bottom, and that's sort of where we get that data that I showed you a little bit earlier on that document. So if you don't see your school here, you can feel free to add it yourself, or you can tell me to add it. But once you tell me you're a GWEC admin for your school or a program, I just go ahead and make you an editor for it. The second reporting element is the student information sheet. The student information sheet is where you put in information on the individual students. So this is where we get some of that information on male, female students or free and reduced lunch students. So we just ask for the school, the student name, an email. It can be a school email. It can be a personal. It doesn't matter. We don't typically reach out to them for any reason. It's just a data point. Whether they earned it or not, we ask their post-secondary track, what they're going to do. We cross-reference it by male and female, race, special education or not, and then the free and reduced lunch. The one thing that I always say on this is if you have some of this information and can put it in, great. If you don't have all of it, that's fine too. If the only things you're capable of reporting are the first, 5 columns and you don't, and there are certain columns you either don't have data on, or specifically these last 3, that you don't have data on or just aren't comfortable putting that data in there, that is okay. We just want the information that you are willing to give so it can paint a little bit of a picture on which students are obtaining the GWEC and being able to put some of that data together. So I am going to go back now to the PowerPoint. And this is going to be kind of a discussion time, as well as, and we'll have you type some of the answers in the chat. All right, so I talked a little bit earlier about incentives. So you could see that laundry list of incentives that was on that website that we showed, but just some of the ones that are sort of big incentives that we see across a lot of schools. Financial incentives, which by example can be, one-time bonuses that are given out by the school, or employer financial bonuses, graduation stoles. Kiddos like to see themselves celebrated and walking down the aisle with those special graduation stoles. Some employers will offer guaranteed job interviews to students who attain the GWEC. That are on the job incentives that employers will offer: extra PTO, extra vacation time, sign-on bonuses, tuition reimbursement. That's sort of something that the school and the local employers can discuss together. And then some schools have GWEC specific ceremonies where they pull I'm going to pull my friends at Bartholomew County School Corporation. They have GWEC specific ceremonies where they bring the GWEC students in. They have speakers. They celebrate those students for obtaining the GWEC. And it feels like a big celebration that the students are really achieving something big, because they are. So those are just kind of a couple of incentives that different schools do, or different employers do. So I'm going to back out of here so I can see the chat a little bit, but I wanted to have kind of a discussion topic to discuss a little bit from an agency perspective, so we know how to better align the GWEC. The first question that I have is, how How do we appeal more to free and reduced lunch students? And I'm going to stop sharing and go over to the chat and just kind of see some of the answers that might be in there. How do you feel the GWEC could appeal to more free and reduced lunch students? And if you want to take yourself off mute, just raise your hand. That can be fine too. This is all being recorded, so it would be helpful for your peers to hear as well. And if you don't have any answers, that's fine. I'm going to share the slide deck, and you're welcome to send me those answers on your own. Let me go back to, and maybe that's the easiest way to do it, is just have you share the answers to some of these questions. So some of the things that we are looking for are, computer's going slow. There we go. Some of the answers to questions we are looking for as we go forward are, how do we appeal more to those free and reduced lunch students? We don't see a huge population of them that are being part of the GWEC or even trying it. Another cross point that we're looking for are, why are females consistently achieving the GWEC at a higher rate than males? Don't know if you're seeing something that in your schools on the local levels that we might not see as an agency. What are you doing to get the word out about the governor's work as a certificate in your school? That could help other schools that email us and say, hey, we're looking to implement this, but we don't know how to get the word out on it. From a DWD perspective, we'd like to know how to get more special education students to consider the GWEC. We know that they can pass it just as well as anyone else, and we'd like to see how we can maybe serve that student population even better, make it even more inclusive than it is. And then we're interested in seeing what sort of student improvement you have with the GWEC. So when you put students into the GWEC program, are you seeing a heightened focus on the attendance piece? Are you seeing a heightened focus from students on making sure that they don't go over that discipline threshold? Are there other data points that you're looking at? And this is where I'll mention that University of Notre Dame's research team is doing a study on the GWEC to sort of see the impact of it. And it will, once the data is all filtered through, it will have some data on attendance. It will have some data on students' attainment rate, GPAs, and all those sorts of things. So once that study is done, it's been going on for about a year and a half now. And it includes data that's both historical and recent. So that next year's webinar probably will have a little bit of that data in it, and we'll have kind of a better narrative on exactly how the GWEC is serving students and how it's making things better for those students. So we look forward to that. A couple other changes that we have. Really one major one. The GWEC certificate will once again be changed. We'll have a new administration, obviously, by the time 2025 spring rolls around and students are graduating. So the certificate from last year, it's not going to be as easy to just change the date on it because we're guaranteed to have a new governor. So we will get that made once we have some of that information. Once the new governor takes office. A change that we are making is we're asking that in order for us to send out that certificate, to go ahead and put your data in, let us know your data is in, and then one of us on the DWD team will send that certificate to you. Other than that, I'm going to go real quickly and just jump to talk a little bit about JAG Indiana for a slide or two, and then I'm going to do the question and answer portion of it. So we saw in the GWEC there was the program Jobs for America's Graduates. I just want to do a brief overview of JAG because we are in the fourth quarter of our expansion phase. For those of you that don't know, Governor Holcomb expanded the JAG Indiana program and asked us to double it by spring of 2025. For those of you that don't know what JAG is, there's a website there, jagindiana.org, but I'm glad to speak with you on the side a little bit about JAG. It's an employability skills-based, workforce-based, how to do life class is basically how I call it, and it's an elective. In terms of program models, I just want to point out that we've expanded our program models. We now have middle school. We have our traditional 9th through 12th models, but we have a lot of models that now are 9th and 10th grade. So previously it was mostly 11th and 12th grade. Now it's 9th and 10th grade as well. We have our continuing alternative education models, and then we have a very much expanded college success model, where JAG students in several campuses across the state take part in the program to help them succeed through college. And then why we love JAG, it works. As you can see, our students' graduation rate is 95%. We have over 200 programs across the state right now. We're in kind of like I said, we're in the fourth quarter and probably the middle of the fourth quarter at this point. And there are only about 20 programs left to expand. So if you have kind of thought about it, or you're on the fence about it, or say, hey, we could probably use this program to help get some of our students graduated and successful past graduation, please reach out, because we are nearing the end of that expansion. The key sort of secret sauce with JAG is the JAG specialist will follow, JAG teacher will follow up with the student a year after graduation. So we're tracking their success not only through graduation, but that year after. So please reach out on that. As far as the GWEC goes, before we go into the question and answer session, here's my contact info. I will send this slide deck out. It'll include a link to the 2025 information. There's the generic GWEC email that you can send to, or if you want a quicker response, feel free to reach out to me at any time, and then I'll share the website as well. So I am going to jump back and stop sharing, and then Sarah, I'm going to have you come off mute and kind of, where do we begin on the questions?
Sure. We had several questions about the map, Bart. The first one
Yes.
was, we are not showing up on the map and our county isn't even listed. Can't list county because it turns it into an emoji, but it is a fruit that starts with O. Okay, so if they're not listed on the map, they're not seeing their school on the map.
If you're not seeing your school on the map, go ahead and send me an email on that school. I will say that as opposed to most of our other DWD sites, that map is maintained by a third-party vendor, and it takes a little longer to get stuff up than the usual 24 to 48 hours. So, but send it to me, and I will get it over to our webmaster, and we will do our best to get it up there as soon as possible. All right, go ahead.
The next map question was, according to the map in Madison County, we don't have any business partners that participate. I think when students see benefits, they will be more interested in the program. Not sure how to get more business involvement. We already partner with Perfecto. So there were some questions about business partnerships as well.
It's a good question. I guess I would ask kind of, and you don't have to answer it now, why there are businesses that aren't interested in participating. What are the drawbacks? It's hard to think of a drawback of offering a motivated young person an opportunity at a job. So I'd be interested in knowing why, because on the employer end, there's not necessarily a lot of drawback to them. You don't have to offer any incentives. It's a good thing to sort of beat out other employers that are trying for these students, but you don't necessarily have to offer any incentives. So I'd be interested in learning that. Hey, Sarah, I'm scrolling up to the very beginning of some of the questions. It looks like you answered the promo video. Do you have to apply each program year, or once you're approved, you're good, Katrina? So you don't have to apply again. Once you're approved, you're good. Up on the manager. Saw that one. Yes, it's being recorded. Okay. Bobby, would you please make the Google Sheets accessible by April so we can complete when the data is ready? The sheets are actually accessible now. When I send out the PowerPoint, you'll see it in there, and you can access it now if you want. 98 attendance requirement for both excused and unexcused absences. That is actually up to the school. If the school wants to use both excused and unexcused, they are welcome to. There's not a hard and fast rule on it. If you just want to do unexcused, that is fine as well. That is sort of up to the school. Some schools actually do excused and unexcused, but have appeals processes where they or a student might go over that threshold, but they can actually write some sort of appeal, and they have the GWEC Advisory Council talk about whether or not that appeal will go through, or if it will not, and the attendance rate maintained. So schools can get very creative with the GWEC, and that's kind of one of the things that's neat about it. Love to hear the legend Gene Hack's perspective on GWEC. Gene is a legend. We love him. So they do a great job down there. So he's one of the first people that I encourage you to reach out to if you have on school questions that only a school could answer. Are there benefits sheets for students if we appeal to I guess we could make a one pager for it. We don't have a sheet right now that shows the benefits because a lot of the benefits are kind of up to the employers, but that's a good idea. We can make something and then we can put that on the GWEC Google Drive. How can DWD partner with Priyat so they can help us connect, especially? It's a good question. Please, if you could reach out to me at my email address, I'd like to have a further discussion on the special education student topic, because that's a really good question. Does DWD reach out to partnering businesses to reinforce the program or update the incentives? Many of the businesses may have signed up in 2018 and not thought of it since. I'm not sure many of them are still honoring the original incentives offered. DWD, this is a very localized program. DWD operates it and maintains it in terms of like the global data and providing the certificates and providing any technical assistance. But DWD really doesn't have an employer. We don't connect with the employers directly. It's more up to the school. Traditionally, it's been up to the schools to connect with those employers and say, here's the benefits to this thing. We could connect. What I could do is connect with our business services team and maybe do an overview of the GWEC for them and have them go out and maybe connect with businesses at the local level. So that's a good idea. Stay tuned on that one. That's a good project for me for going forward. Perry County struggles with business industry. Again, that's a good thing to know. Jody, again, if you could reach out to me with this one as well, and I can put you in contact with our business services folks down there, and maybe that's a place where you two could have a more localized discussion and get some of those connections made. Susie, we have been told they're not adding any more JAG schools. Well, Susie, if you could type in the chat which school you're with, I would be interested in knowing where we're not adding JAG schools, because we are in the final phase and we are still trying to add some programs, especially for schools that want them and students that need them. So we are definitely trying to add more JAG schools up until that 250. Employer partner list maintain. In terms of the employer partner list, when an employer comes on as part of the GWEC, they're added to the list, but then it is a little bit up to they're responsible for maintaining their presence on that list. So we do have employers that email every now and then and say, hey, we're no longer taking part in this program, and then we take them off. If we have some folks that are part of it but aren't listed, email me directly is the best way to do that, so I can get that over to our webmaster to get that updated. Our JAG MOU goes to vote for our school board next Tuesday. Are you capped or just limited capacity for those that have not started the process yet? We are not capped. We still have about 20 left. I love seeing there's folks that are still interested in adding some JAG programs. This is great. Again, if you could reach out to me and let me know which area in the state you are. We have field support managers. I think almost all of them are on. They're all on here. Sarah Ferguson covers our central Indiana regions. Jennifer Robinson covers our southern Indiana regions, and Cherish Schaefer covers our northern Indiana regions. So we will definitely be able to accommodate anyone who's interested in learning about JAG, and I'm sure they would be willing to meet with you directly. Autumn is amazing as well. Autumn is probably the greatest of all time when it comes to Indiana GWEC in terms of schools. So another person that the second anybody asks about GWEC from a school perspective, we always go to Autumn. And there's the AI takeaway from the meeting. Jeez, AI is wild. Shelby Eastern School. So Shelby, that is you, Sarah. So I'll have you reach out to Susie to talk about those two schools in terms of getting the JAG programs up and running. And there's Sarah's information. All right, so if there are no other questions, what's the formalized process for an organization to participate? If I add an employer partner, have them contact us either through the work ethic at dwd.in.gov email or just me directly, and we'll get them on the map. So they're represented on there. It's a good question. Looks like there's a lot of questions with getting stuff updated on the map, and if you can send those directly to me, that will probably get the process done quicker. All righty. Well, I will, once the Microsoft Teams gets this recorded and gets it archived, I will go ahead and send it out. I will also send out a link to the 2025 folder for data entry. I'll also send out a link to the GWEC video, the report from 2024 students. And if you have any questions whatsoever, just please do not hesitate to ever reach out. I'm glad to help. And in terms of JAG, please reach out with that too, and we'll get you connected with the right folks. Apart from that, enjoy the lovely weather. I love summer personally. I love early fall personally. I dislike winter a lot, and I hope we're able to have as much of this weather as possible. So enjoy the weather, enjoy the weekend, and we really, really appreciate everybody that came on and took part in today's webinar.